What's up, everybody? We got a great show lined up tonight. We are going to be talking some Scott Fishbowl. We got some great guests to come on and help us do that. We have Mr. Consistency himself, Mr. Bob Lung, and Mr. Cocktail, Zach Berger. We'll be talking about some scoring breakdown from the Scott Fishbowl and why it's different, some do's and don'ts, some draft strategy, and of course, we'll do listener questions. Let's go ahead and get
Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Armchair, episode 379. I'm your host, of course, Geoff Lambert, and you can follow me on Twitter at GeoffLambert77. We're here every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch. We're syndicated on all major podcast networks, and you can find all of our audio and video content over at goingfor2.live. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. What's up, Ryan?
Oh, not much, man. Just excited for the Scott Fishbowl and actually do it live this year.
You're actually doing a live draft this year? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm doing it live. We got
Awesome.
the bars right between the stadiums.
Nice. That's awesome. Good stuff. I didn't realize you were doing live, and you have the 12th spot, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm at as well, the 12th spot. All right, as I mentioned at the top, we're going to be talking some Scott Fishbowl. We got great people tonight to talk Scott Fishbowl with. First up, we got Mr. Zach Berger. He is a content director at Fantasy and Frames. He's one of the SFB makers and host of the other live draft in Orlando. And you can follow him on Twitter at FFChalupa-Batman. What's up, Zach?
How's it going tonight, gentlemen?
Good, man. Glad to have you on. And so just real quick with the Orlando draft, how's that going with the setup? I got 4 full drafts down there.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we did it for the first time. This will be year 3 in Orlando, and this will be the second time we're at Rock Pit Brewing. We were there last year, a great time. We added an extra division, so we went from 3 divisions to 4, so going even bigger. But it'll be a great time. Lots of good drinks there, good barbecue, and then just a lot of fun prizes to win with the raffles. And it is open to the public, so we are full of drafters, but you guys are all welcome to come hang out and have a good time and even enter the raffles yourself. So here to raise money for charity. So it's at Rock Pit Brewing in Orlando, Sunday, July 7th. So a week from this Sunday, 1 p.m.
Good stuff. Love it. All right. We also have Mr. Bob Long, who we decided has not been on in so long that the last time he was on, I had short hair. So my hair.
So did I, but mine doesn't grow out that far.
So, of course, Bob is from BigGuyFantasySports.com. He's also the creator of the Fantasy Football Consistency Guide, which has been nominated now 7 years in a row as one of the best publications out there in fantasy football. And, of course, he is also the man behind the Fantasy Expo. You can find him at Bob_Lung. Bob, man, how's it going?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. Like you said, it's been a while. I didn't realize it'd been that long. So either that or your hair grows really damn fast. It could be both. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I'll be going to Cincinnati. We're July 6th down there. And yeah, really excited to head down. It's about a 4-hour trip for me, but taking the wife, making a weekend out of it, and going to enjoy. We're going, my one buddy and his wife's coming down actually Saturday night, and we're going to the Reds game on Sunday. So yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend.
Good stuff. Awesome.
Again, Pittsburgh, isn't that closer for you?
Pittsburgh would be a little bit closer, but I know more people in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe next year I'll do Pittsburgh if they still have it. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into our nonsense draft.
Attention, everyone. Let's mock draft.
All right. Tonight we are drafting movie characters that we would want to co-manage a fantasy team with. Obviously, the theme of the Scott Fishbowl this year is the movies, and all of our divisions are named after characters. So I figured, why not? We'll pull this one out. I think me and Ryan may have done one like this similar before, but we got some new guests tonight, so we'll get some new answers. So, Bob, you get the 101 here. Give me your character that you'd want to manage a fantasy team with.
I thought this was going to be easy. I really did. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll take it. And then first thing I thought of was very attractive women. But then I'm like, nah, that'll distract me from my drafting. So I probably shouldn't do that. And my wife wouldn't be very happy with me. So I decided it kind of clicked for me at the last minute. I literally wrote this down probably 20 minutes ago. But let's be honest. If I get Doc Brown from Back to the Future, I can go back and see who scores what.
Nice.
Has to be the obvious pick. I'm going Doc Brown.
Yes, that's an awesome choice because I didn't even think about time travel when I was doing my character.
See? Yeah, you gotta find advantages. Consistency may not work, but I know damn well time travel might.
Perfect. I love it. Zach, it's gonna be hard to follow that 101. What you got for the 102?
So in Scott Fishbowl, it's all about charity. So we shouldn't cheat in that. But in this made-up draft, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So give me Professor X, and I can just have him read all of your minds and figure out what you guys are thinking. And you can go back in time, but I'll still read your mind. So
yeah, wow, that's another good answer, man. I did this wrong. You know, I'm supposed to be the professional here. I do these mock drafts all the time, and man, I did mine. I was thinking about, trash talk and guys like that. That's what I started thinking of, and crazy trade offers and stuff. And man,
it said co-manage. It didn't say he was drafty. We just said co-manage.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I did this wrong. All right, Ryan, you got the 103.
Well, I'm upset that I'm not thinking the way they did. I'm trying to get that strategy and analytics. So I'm taking Matt Damon from Rounders with how he is good with numbers and odds. So I'm going to have him get me on that analytics section.
Nice. I love it. And I love that movie too. I see that movie. It pops up a lot of clips on my TikTok for some reason. I don't know. I guess they must know that I like that movie, but I see a lot of clips on TikTok pop up.
There's like 4 Matt Damon characters that could be used for this, which made it really hard.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So I'm up here at the 104, and there's one guy that I'm going to take only, and this is the only reason why I took him, because I actually have a drop that I've actually never used on the show that I'm going to use strictly for this pick, just so I can do it. But I'm going to play the drop, and then I'll tell you who this player is. But I want to have this guy just so I can get this one line when doing trade offers.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Of course, it's Vito Corleone from The Godfather. I want to have him in my negotiations when I go through the trade offers, because I think it's gonna work out in my favor when we do that. So
I love it.
That's my 104. All right, Bob, back to you at the 201.
So I kind of went with Ryan's concept for this one. I went kind of with that analytic, and I'm going with Russell Crowe from A Beautiful Mind.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great call. You're gonna have like a draft board with like things all over the place.
Yeah, just everywhere. Yeah, just all written out.
Love it. All right, 202, Zach.
All right, I had a feeling he'd slip to me. For branding purposes, I had to take him, and for the fact that he's the greatest detective out there, I got to take Batman.
Batman, yes, of course. Got to go with that. Yeah, definitely stay on brand. Love it. All right, Ryan, this is your last pick here, 203.
So we're sticking in the DC universe, but getting a little bit off on it. We are going with Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen because he can see everything, future and present, all at the same time, and is basically omnipotent. So he knows all.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so I'm the 204, and I have a little bit of time to think about mine since y'all took all these like time traveling and mind readers. So I'm going with Obi-Wan Kenobi, so he can use the Jedi mind tricks on y'all.
There you go.
Like, these are the draft.
Allen is not the quarterback you want.
Yeah,
Jeff, he will never give you a straight answer, though. He will only talk. You'll ask him a question on what you guys want to do, and he'll just speak in riddles, and it'll drive you crazy.
He doesn't deal in absolutes. So
yeah, love it. All right, that was the nonsense draft. Let's get into some football stuff now.
News and notes from around the league.
News and Notes is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check out their best ball leagues, huge tournaments, private leagues, pick'ems for all major sports. Use our promo code GF2 and get bonus bucks up to $250. And right now, if you haven't seen, they do have a Scott Fishbowl satellite that just came out. It is $5. Gives you a chance to win your way into next year's Scott Fishbowl. And get to play best ball with a bunch of people that are hopeful to get in. I've already got a couple of my leagues are running of those, so if you want to join that, make sure to use our promo code GF2 and get bonus bucks up to $250. You can get that on the app or go to underdogfantasy.com. All right, let's talk about some news and notes. Not a whole lot going on in the NFL right now, but we do have a sort of an ongoing story we've talked about a couple times on the podcast, Zach. But this Brandon Ayuk situation with the trade negotiation potential, he's, as far as getting signed, he's frustrated with the negotiations. There's talk that he might, be traded. Of course, he had a conversation with Jaden Daniels, the quarterback of the Commanders, and had a whole, thing with that. What are your thoughts if you're an owner of Ayuk right now in Dynasty? Like, what are you thinking? Are you hoping that he goes somewhere else and becomes the number one? Are you hoping he stays with 49ers, or what are you looking for?
I mean, if I have him on my roster, you have to hold him at this point. You're not going to get maximum value, so why sell? I think no matter where he goes, he's probably going to have good value. If a team's going to want to trade for him, I feel like for them to get him, they're going to have to give up enough to make it worth 49ers value. So I would assume he's going to a good situation, or he's going to stay with the 49ers, and we've already seen how well he does there, at least for a year. So I'm not really concerned about Ayuk, at least short term. And if you have him on your roster, I would definitely hold him. If you don't have him on your roster and the manager is concerned, then maybe you can buy low. But I mean, I would not advise that manager to sell low. So just hold.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's in a hold situation. What about you, Bob? What are your thoughts on Brandon Ayuk? I know you're more of a redraft guy.
I mean, yeah, I think he's got the talent, but I also don't like players that. How do I say this? He's a very good receiver, but I don't think he's a great receiver. He's also playing opposite Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. He could go to Carolina and be the number one, but is he going to be as productive if teams are double teaming him? Because he's not. Now he becomes the focus player. Is he good enough to be a true number one? We don't know that. So at this point, if somebody made me a decent offer for him, I'd probably trade him. First off, I probably don't have him on my team because I don't like players that have that attitude problem. But, he's definitely not worth Amon-Ra St. Brown or any of this top receiver money. If I'm John Lynch, I wouldn't give it to him, and I would try to trade him. Now, of course, they're saying the right things on the 49ers side, like we want him to stay, but we also want him to know he needs to kick his value down a notch or two because he's not going to get paid like Amon-Ra. And if somebody wants to pay him, then let somebody else do that. But I don't think John Lynch, if you all remember, I drove John Lynch a few years ago in Hall of Fame. So John and I know each other. Okay, we're not that close, but but he's a smart guy. He's obviously been doing a great job with that team. He knows which players. And I remember just a few years ago when I drove him, that was the 2021 year. And I said to him, do you think, Ayuk or Samuel is going to be the better receiver? And he said, Ayuk is having a terrible spring, terrible summer, terrible preseason, wasn't clicking with the offense. And, but he said Deebo was kicking ass. And that was the year Deebo had a monster year. But it was interesting because I did talk to him last year and I said, how's things going? He said, Ayuk's really turned it around. I think he mentally is back in and we really like his potential. And he had a very solid year. But again, John Lynch was at a point where he was pretty much done with him a couple years ago. And so I feel like he just doesn't feel the value is there. So I think he could be a very good receiver somewhere else. I don't know if he'll be an elite receiver anywhere as a number one.
Yeah, and to go back to your point about, can he be the focal point of the offense? as a 49ers fan, there was a time when Debo was hurt this season and he was the focal point, and we struggled.
Right. Middle was.
I think we lost all 3 of those games that Debo missed. It wasn't all Ayuk's fault. We have more issues beyond that, but I mean, he was given the lead and it didn't look good. So that's definitely a good point. Ryan, what are your thoughts here? I know we talked about Ayuk before, but just anything updated on your thoughts on Ayuk?
I'm on the page where Bob is, and the one thing about Ayuk, we're drafting on the ceiling right now. He finished his wide receiver 14 last year in PPR, and he had the most absurdly efficient season you could ask for. Like, he finished with 1,300 yards on just 75 catches. So 17.9 a catch is more than Tyreek Hill. It's more than every other wide receiver until you get down to 29. Because of that efficiency, is because of that offense and the skill players around him creating for him. Because you can't double team him. And a lot of times he's not pulling number one receiver or number one corner. Defenses are going up because they have to worry about Christian McCaffrey running the ball. It's the
And George
perfect
Kittle
situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like he could be a solid fantasy wide receiver too on a different team if he lands on a different team, but I think it's a ceiling right now. I'm gonna let him slide because of that, because I don't know how much value he'll actually gain.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as I love Ayuk as a 49ers fan, I feel the same way that y'all do as well. And same with Zach. I think right now, if I have him, I'm holding him because people are kind of nervous about where he ends up, because it sounds like he's in it for the money. And a lot of times you see those players that are in it for the money go to teams that aren't that good. And if he goes to a team that's not that good, and he gets his big contract, but then it probably hurts his fantasy value as well. So yeah, good points. Next one we got here is Mr. Ramondre Stevenson signs a 4-year, $36 million extension with the Patriots. It's not something that we normally see, especially with the Patriots. Ryan, we'll go back to you on this one. You don't see running backs get these extensions very often, especially with the Patriots. What are your thoughts on Ramondre Stevenson?
I mean, there's new regimes. Everything we thought about the Patriots before is gone. We don't know what the Patriots are really about now. But it's a follow the money, and it shows the team believes in him. If they paid him, he's good enough in the passing game, and his values been hit hard enough in fantasy. He's worth buying to me, and I'll definitely take a chance. I think he can get volume because they're gonna protect the young quarterback.
Yeah. Zach, as a dynasty owner of Stevenson, this has to make you feel good, right? Like they've locked up their guy for a little while, and you assume he's going to get the workload there with this contract.
I mean, it definitely gives you a sense of stability now for at least 2 or 3 years, which is really what you're looking at for dynasty. But if I'm a dynasty owner right now with Stevenson, I'm probably hoping he starts off the season well. I think they have an okay schedule. They actually might have a pretty bad schedule, at least for that offense. But hopefully he starts well. And also, I try to sell him in the sense that people are like, he's got stability, because I just don't believe in that offense doing well for a couple of years. And I don't really like building my teams around a running back anyway. So if I can get some solid pieces or even get younger on my roster, I'd rather do that in Dynasty. But I mean, it's definitely not a bad thing for Stevenson right now, but he's not really somebody I would be targeting anyway.
The schedule's brutal.
Yeah.
Start. It's real brutal.
That's why I don't think they're I think it would be Brissett for probably at least 6 weeks.
6 weeks probably, wherever their bye week is. I don't know if they haven't.
I think they have a later bye week because they go to London, but they didn't want to do a bye week after that. So there's not really a great spot for him to drop in.
Yeah, their bye week is 14.
Week 9 maybe, when they start like Tennessee and they have a little bit of a less schedule with defenses. But man, that's rough.
It is rough.
Right. I see a couple questions. So for Ryan, I'm drinking a Oaxaca Old Fashioned, which is basically just tequila and mezcal. It's really simple, really easy to make, delicious. And then Jamie just asked about the mental health podcast I did last year with my wife. As of right now, we are not planning to do another one this summer. We just have a lot going on. But all those episodes, I know Jamie watched all of them before, but they're all evergreen. So go back and watch them. And if anybody ever has any questions, they can reach out to me individually if they'd like, and I can always ask my wife, who is a licensed mental health counselor, for not advice, because that's not legal, but I can pose a question to her and she can give some hypotheticals if that's what you need.
Fair enough. Good stuff. All right. So Bob, real quick, give me your thoughts on Ramondre Stevenson from a redraft perspective.
From a redraft perspective, I don't know if I want to draft anybody who plays for the New England Patriots this year. It's that simple. I mean, their offensive line isn't very good. I mean, Stevenson will be basically their only star, and how much opportunity are you really going to get with a rookie quarterback? I mean, maybe he catches a lot of balls. I mean, if he can go back to the 2022 and catch 69 passes, okay, now you've got some value, but I don't think he's going to rush for 1,000 yards like he did then. Right. He might hit last year's numbers, but again, he also missed 5 games last year. This is the other thing with him is health. If he's going to be the bell cow back, when last year he split carries with Zeke, he's not going to split carries with Antonio Gibson. Gibson's going to be a third down back, but I just don't want anything to do with that offense. I really don't. Yep.
I love it. All right. So I got these 2 notes I'm going to lump together here. And just in general, we get all these kind of so-and-so is shining at practice. And this guy really stood out.
Yeah, I love those. Yeah.
Yeah. All the coach speak that we get. I'll go to you first on this one, Bob. So the 2 I wrote down, Demario Douglas shines at practice for the Patriots. And then Trey Tucker for the Raiders excels at OTAs and mini camps. How much stock do you put in these kind of notes? Is there anything at all that you look at for these things?
Not really. The only thing I will, I'll read them. I'll take note. Now, sometimes depending on who's saying it makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
If I'm hearing, a respected beat writer from a various teams, then I might be like, oh, okay. I listen to SiriusXM in the morning. So when Adam Kaplan's on, I take note. If he says something that he saw at a camp, you could believe it. Coach speak, player speak, it is what it is, but I'll make a mental note of it and maybe it bumps a player or 2 in my rankings, but again, usually it's got to be something that makes sense, a change that was made, not just, right. Oh, this guy looks great in practice. Well, everybody looks great in shorts.
Exactly.
So especially the fast guys, because they look faster in shorts. So hence Pop Douglas. But yeah, I don't usually hold too much, especially this time of year. Maybe it was we get closer to the season, when we're in full pads and full everything, and you got people there that, again, depending on who's saying it, well-respected folks in the industry that I go, oh, okay. If he says it, yeah, okay, I'm in.
Fair enough. So now, Zach, I know you're in some dynasty leagues. Whenever we have these kind of notes pop up, the first thing that happens on Sleeper is these guys are like the most added players. They just jump to the top. But we seem to recycle them. Like they'll get dropped after a couple of weeks and they'll add the next hot guy. How do you sort of manage these kind of notes in your dynasty leagues? As far as how do you react to these kind of things?
Super easy. So if he is on your roster, you put him on the trade block immediately. And if he's not on your roster, you just drop this little news blurb in the league chat and let somebody else spend way too much on them. These, like Bob said, these mean nothing. I love watching the videos though, especially on Twitter. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's gonna be a stud. He literally ran against air. As long as he didn't fall over and he made a catch, like, great. And if he didn't make it, that's why it's practice reps. Like, he could have killed it the next rep. Or even when you have a defender who can't tackle you and they literally then goes like, oh, he scored a touchdown. I'm like, no, nobody touched him. Like, he just got to run by everybody. Yeah, for these, all I care about is, does somebody get injured? And then how serious is the injury? Because that, especially like if it's a muscle pull, and then it comes up again in training camp, and it comes up again in preseason. I mean, I don't want to touch that player then, because those just keep recurring in the same year. You don't really recover fast enough from those. But otherwise, hype videos, all that, that's just great to have some fun in your league chats and maybe get an easy trade off there. But for fantasy value, they mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that one. And it's in the world of clickbait too, they make those headings. I read one. It was like, I forget what the quarterback was, but it was like X quarterback drops a dime in practice or whatever. And I clicked on the video, and it's literally the quarterback with no one in front of him throwing a deep pass to a receiver with no one covering him. I'm like, come on.
Was that the Daniel Jones one?
It might have been Daniel Jones.
I think it was the Daniel Jones one to Malik Neighbors. It's like, Yeah, Jones and Neighbors are already, clicking in practice. And I'm like, there's
nobody there. No one in front of me.
I could throw it to Malik Neighbors. Probably have to throw it sooner. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's do what we came to do tonight. Let's talk some Scott Fishbowl here. So the first thing I really want to do, I want to dive into the scoring. So we're going to bring the scoring up. And I'll go to you first, Ryan, here. When you first saw the scoring for the Scott Fishbowl, what stood out to you like immediately? Like this is a game changer, or this changes everything of the way I was thinking of drafting. What was the number one thing that you thought of?
So I don't think anything's a super game changer. I think it's pretty even. Like I don't think I'm really going to change my strategy much, especially early on in the draft. If we're talking a little bit later, like we're talking the 8th, 9th, 10th round, I might change how I take wide receivers and running backs. Get ones with some like special teams work. So like Rashid Shaheed, who had worked at receiver and did returns last year, who had a ton of all-purpose yards. Players who have the opportunity to do that, and then kind of pay attention these next couple weeks because with the new kickoff rules, we're going to see different backs be back there. We're going to see running backs and different receivers on the return because they're going to have more room. It's going to be a little bit safer. So you might see those third down backs or the speedier guys. Like I'll use Baltimore as an example. Like Justice Hill might be back there for them, or players like that. I'm going to keep an eye on those for later in the draft. Yeah, like Jamie has in the chat, Marvin Mims did returns, and he could be an impact receiver too. It's speaking for that team, but like players who have that example. So I think it's later on the draft is where you find the advantage. Early on, I don't think the scoring really changes much.
Fair enough. What about you, Zach? Anything stand out to you when you first saw the scoring?
A few things. I mean, overall, like Ryan said, it's pretty even, which is Scott does that on purpose, which makes it a lot more fun because it's kind of even for everybody. Doesn't matter what your skill level is in fantasy, but the fact that passing yards are halved, it really helps your running QBs, or you really need your QBs to throw a lot of touchdowns to have like true difference-making value. And I think the tight ends basically getting 3 times bonus. Like the fact that a 10-yard reception for a first down is 4 points. I think that helps more tight ends, which makes them more valuable. And now that we have so many flex positions, you could really actually go bully tight end and make that work this year. Whereas I think a lot of people like to try that in the years past, and it didn't really work out for them because the tight ends they picked weren't really bullying anybody. And I think this new special teams wrinkle is going to make ADP interesting and make some draft boards look really weird. I don't know how much of an impact it's really going to have because we honestly have no idea who's returning any of these kicks yet. When we do these drafts with it, some of them start in a few days, and we'll be drafting through like the first half of July, most of July. Training camp won't even happen yet. So we don't even know who even has a chance to return kicks. I think that'll be really huge for waiver wire, and I think it could change throughout the season. I mean, we could see like a lot of, let's say, more special teams type players fielding those positions, but the second half of the season, you could see more of your elite athletes or star receivers wanting to get in there to kind of change the game, if that's how like the league trends, because it's a whole new kickoff now. So we have no idea what it's going to look like. So I think that's what makes it fun because we're all in the dark. We're all making our best guesses. Like I know we mentioned Marvin Mims. It's the Denver Broncos. He could be a stud. He could not even see the field. We have no idea right now.
Right.
So
just a lot of those guys will probably get picked up on waivers.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about you, Bob? Anything stand out when you looked at the scoring?
Well, I think the thing that really jumped out at me first was the bullshit that kickers only get half-point PPR. I think they should be at least 50. I mean, if a kicker catches a pass, I think they should be rewarded a lot more than 0.5. That was the first thing I saw. No, seriously. Yeah, it just, this always makes it fun, right? I mean, you just go in and, you've got the ADPs on your site and a great article, and it looks fantastic. And, I just did a mock draft the other night, and it's just, I think it, like you said, it not only evens the playing field for the players, it evens the playing field for the people drafting, right? I mean, we all are, analysts, experts, whatever title you want to give us, But to be honest with you, anybody could walk in that draft and just pick the right players and kick ass. Being a 2-quarterback league, obviously quarterbacks are going to go early regardless of the 51 point for 50 yards. Like you said, the running quarterbacks are going to be a big deal. But the draft I did just a couple nights ago, I think we draft, I forget, 20 quarterbacks went in the first 3 rounds. So that's going to happen. And so then it just becomes the fun of, when do you pick your first kicker? When do you pick your first potential return guy, like a Marvin Mims or Rashid Shaheed, somebody like that. And then it just kind of comes down to, do you pick the right people to do, produce, and do the best you can. And like I said, there'll be a lot of waiver wire of punt return and kicker return guys in the first few weeks, probably every week, because every time somebody returns a touchdown that's not on somebody's roster, they're going to get sucked up real quick. So that'll be fun. So no, it just makes it entertaining. I love it.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me when they first dropped the scoring, and Seth brought this up, we did a Discord only sort of Scott Fishbowl strategy stage the other night, is you technically only have 4 starters, right? You have 1 QB, 1 running back, 1 receiver, 1 tight end, and the rest are just flexes. I know you want to double your quarterback. You want to have 2 quarterbacks, obviously.
Yeah.
But you really can stack up on, with the even scoring, you can go any way you want and just take best player available. Like, you don't have to pigeonhole, I need 3 receivers and I got to have 2 running backs to start. You can just go best player available after you get your quote unquote 4 starters. Just take the best guy in the field that you think is going to score the most amount of points. That's,
Jeff, you also brought up a thing. If you're in sleeper, you can only do 1 kicker, right?
1 kicker, correct. You have to start 1, and you can only start 1. Whereas on NFL, you've got the.
But if you're in MFL, you can have 6 kickers.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a big difference, folks. So pay attention if you're on sleeper versus MFL, because that's huge.
Yeah, and then I think Seth also brought up, and it was kind of crazy that it ended up being exactly. But if you take last year's stats with this year's scoring, Garrett Wilson and Xavier Gibson, who was the returner for the Jets on the same team, had exactly the same amount of points, which is crazy to think about, because Xavier Gibson did absolutely nothing other than return kicks. He did a little bit on the offense, but not much. But if you could get a guy like Xavier Gibson that you can put into your starting lineup, now we don't know who that person is, because like Zach said, especially with the rookies coming in, a lot of times the rookies are given those jobs to sort of earn their right onto the team. Mm-hmm. So we have no idea who those guys are going to be. We can't look at last year and be like, that's who's definitely going to be returning kicks, because it's possible that they're not this year. They could have been replaced by a new rookie. And, and like Gibson's case, he's been lighting it up in camp, one of those notes that we like to talk about. Maybe he gets a bigger role in the offense and they take him off the returning the kicks and the punts, and then it diminishes his value overall in this format. So yeah, good stuff. Ryan, I'm gonna go back to you on this one, just as far as your strategy in general. I know people always tend to go in with some kind of strategy. I'm gonna go 4 running backs, or I'm gonna double up on tight ends, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Do you have a specific strategy for you, or are you going in and just sort of gonna be winging it, so to speak?
So I don't think I have specific players in mind. At certain points I do, but my big thing is I want to lock up. I picked the 12 spot, so I'm looking to get a QB in running back in those 2 picks, and then kind of like go BPA after that. Especially the 3rd round reversal, that gives me an opportunity to another good receiver, or if a quarterback falls there. But I really like waiting on QB a little bit till that 4th round, 5th round, because a lot of talented QBs are there now, like for that second super flex spot. So you can take one early and then wait a little bit, because you have in the 40s Tua, Herbert, Goff, Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, all who are in high-powered offenses or high-powered quarterbacks. And I know they're not the prettiest right now in the shiniest, but they're still going to throw a lot. And I'm going to go try to lock one of them down in the 4th. But other than that, just best player available. And with this build, with the other 4 starters, I don't care what order it comes in. I just care that I get the best player. And then he said Jaden Daniels in the 4th. Jay Daniels going to the third now. He's a little bit rich for me.
He's not making it to the fourth.
Yeah, he's not getting
Yeah,
that
so I'm not taking him in the
Oh
third.
gosh, no. Daniels
Not at all.
went. Oh, he did go in the fourth, 4-3. Then the mock I did the other night.
He's at 33 on our ADP overall.
Yeah. Again, it just depends on your league, and
Yep, every league will be
Just say
different.
he shouldn't make it to the fourth.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
What about you, Zach? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I'd say with the roster construction, especially specifically tight end, I think if you don't hit one of those elite ones in the first 2 rounds, you can wait a little bit because there's a lot of good ones who follow. So
Yeah.
don't be in a hurry and miss other good players to try to fill out that 1 of 4 spots.
Yeah, agreed. Zach, what about you? Any strategy going in that you're looking at doing?
Sure. Strategy number 1: don't have a set lock strategy. Especially with this kind of format, it's so open. You just really have to let the draft board come to you. Like we talked about earlier, it's really about knowing the scoring, knowing the positional advantages. I know Jamie asked a question about, does RBs get a boost over wide receivers? They do get a boost at a certain point. Your elite wide receivers are still more valuable than most elite running backs. Like CMC is still number 1, but your RB2s get a nice little boost, especially the ones that are still getting carries, just because of that little bonus there. So those are the little subtle things you kind of need to pay attention to, of where are those value gaps between each position on your board. And every division is going to be so different. As great as ADP is, and because we get so much data, it's very accurate overall, but in your specific division, it could be significantly different. So it's really just paying attention to those value gaps. And like I said, having fun. I've seen people post before, if you like a certain player, just get it. Who cares what ADP says? Get your guy. The odds of you winning this league are basically 0, which is fine. So have fun with it. I'd rather lose with a fun team than lose with, I thought I followed the ADP just right and got this great team I didn't really like, and then I still lost anyway. So especially with this, it's all about charity. I've posted this before. This is the most competitive, least competitive league that I've ever been a part of in fantasy football, because we all
that's a great
want to do
point.
really well. I mean, look at how many mocks are going on. There's so much excitement. We're literally in June right now. We're gonna be drafting in July. We're having a ton of fun. It's very exciting. None of us expect to win. None of us are upset when our team ends up getting knocked out. We're all cheering for each other. We're all supporting each other. So yeah, just have fun with it.
Yeah. So just to piggyback off of that, so I've been in the Scott Fishbowl since SFB 8. I don't know how many years that is, 6 years, something like that. This is my 7th, I believe. I've never made the playoffs, and here I am having these advice shows and talking about what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and I've never made the playoffs, which is why I'll go ahead and plug it while we're here. I am actually raffling off my first round pick. For every $5 donated to the Going for Two /Fantasy Cares charity, I'm giving you 1 raffle ticket that you can make my pick live on our live stream, on our live draft. There is one caveat. He has to be within the top 200 on our ADP, so I'm not getting a complete bum. But yeah, so that is the charity that I'm running right now. Bob, what about you? Any strategies for you?
I will get to that, but I'll say I've been in. I want to say I was in one of the early ones. May have been 2 or 3. I've been in a long time. But the first year I was in, I won the consolation tournament. So I didn't make the playoffs, but I won the consolation tournament. I don't remember what my prize was, but I remember feeling really awesome that I won. But I'm I won because I beat all of the losers. But anyway,
You were the best loser.
Yeah, I was the best loser basically. I think I made the playoffs in a few, but I don't remember that part. But anyway, strategy wise, I mean, again, I have pick 7. Being in the middle means you don't have to worry about, any kind of run. In the draft, the mock draft I did the other night, 7th pick was was Robinson. That's probably not a terrible pick. But I might also go Anthony Richardson or Lamar Jackson if he falls there. So I really want to get my 2 quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds, and probably will do that unless it's just guys that Like Joe Burrow go early because it's in Cincinnati, so I'm not worried about that. But if there's a running quarterback, probably going to take him. And if there's one in the second round still left, I might take another one. I will probably get my first stud tight end in round 3. In the draft the other night, I did Pitts in round 3. I went Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, and Kyle Pitts. Then came back, wanted Derrick Henry, hit the wrong button. Let's just say I drafted Derrick Henry. Then went 3 receivers. And my third receiver was Shaheed because of the return yards.
Mm-hmm.
And then, after that, I just kind of filled in. I drafted Taysom Hill because he does qualify as a tight end in this scoring method in round 10. Drafted the first kicker overall at round 12. So, I kind of like what I did there. Probably will keep very similar to that. And just get the best players, the best value at those spots, and hope it all flushes out to be successful. But like you said, probably won't be.
We have a question in the chat here from Emily. She wants to know, Ryan, do you have any SFB New Year's resolutions? Like, I will not draft Derrick Henry before the 4th round ever again, or anything that you wish you hadn't done in the past?
I don't have anything in the past. I think I will draft more with, have more fun with my picks this year. It's always been as much. I get my routine in fantasy football, and I pick this smart pick. I want to take more chances with it.
Yeah, I
want a little more excitement.
Yeah, I think my pick was my new resolution is just to not pigeonhole myself. I've made some mistakes in the past. Let's put it that way.
Jeff, your resolution should never go bully tight end ever again.
Never go bully tight end
in any fantasy football format.
I should not take Mark Andrews and Kyle Pitts in rounds 2 and 3 back to back, because that's what I did last year or the year before. I forget, but yeah, that didn't work out for me. And then I went bully. Or I went hero RB, where I took 4 running backs in the first 4 rounds, and then 3 of them got season-ending injuries, and I was left with nobody. So. And then one year I took Andrew Luck, and then he retired. So I've had the worst luck with my team. So,
so tell us who you're going to draft, Jeff, and we'll make sure we don't take him.
Exactly.
Yeah, what are you drafting, Jeff?
Well, that's why I'm raffling it off, because obviously I'm not making the right pick, so I'll raffle off my first round pick, but. It's
Darnell Mooney is player 200.
Darnell Mooney it is. I have a feeling if a kicker is in that top 200, that's who I'm probably going to get, because everybody knows that going for 2 and how we are no kickers, and they're gonna give me a kicker in that first round. What about you, Bob? Any resolutions from your past that you want to make sure you don't do?
Well, last year I did the heavy kicker because I was in MFL, and I thought it was brilliant because I'm like, look, kickers are much more consistent. I mean, they're scoring 12 to 15 points a week, and that's, a great average. So I loaded up on a bunch of kickers in the mid to late rounds, thought it was brilliant. Wasn't so brilliant. I didn't make playoffs. So the fact that I'm in sleeper actually restricts me from that. So I should have no problem, but it's a lot of points.
Yeah. Kyle says his resolution is to not draft on sleeper again. He's going back to MFL because he's not a fan of sleeper. All right. Let's do some do's and don'ts. Not necessarily players or draft strategies, but just overall in general. Is there anything do's or don'ts, Ryan, that you've kind of in the past want to kind of impart to some of the new people out there?
I think I know I just said I want to take more chances this year, but in all reality, you kind of want to make a deeper run. Don't take the absurd chances early and wait a little bit. Like round 7, 8, when you're getting the fun players in the fall, that's the time to take chances, take the young guys who you don't know anything about, and build a solid roster ahead of that. You have plenty of time to have fun and build a good team if you kind of want to make a playoff run.
Fair points. What about you, Zach? Any do's or don'ts?
I'm almost gonna go against Ryan here, so I'm gonna try to wiggle around what he said. So what I've learned over the last few years of playing Scott Fishbowl, we all get a record. We have a win-loss record. Honestly, it means nothing. Can it get you in the playoffs? Yes. If you just squeak in the playoffs based on your record, you're going to get eliminated pretty early on. You have no shot of winning the whole thing, which, again, we just said the odds are not in your favor. You almost want to treat this of it's all about your points. You could have a terrible record if you just had bad luck. If you score enough points, you also automatically get in the playoffs. And then your average for the season each week, that counts in the playoffs. That's what helps you get a little buffer in the playoffs as well. So for me, it's almost like have a best ball mindset strategy of you need to think that every pick you make is a home run. But then you still have to set a lineup. But it's all flex mostly. So it does help with that where hopefully you get lucky with who you pick on your lineup each week. But yeah, for me, it's have fun with it. Good vibes only. But it's okay to be risky. Now, like you said, Ryan said, don't go crazy. You still want to be within probably at least an 81 round ADP, maybe a round and a half. But it's okay to go for that home run type player that, like Anthony Richardson, seems very polarizing right now. Where some people I think he could be QB1 this year if he stays healthy, and some people want nothing to do with him because they don't think he's going to be healthy. He's a perfect player that if you believe in him, take him in the first round. I don't care what your pick is. You take him. If he ends up being QB1, you might just win the whole thing. And if he ends up getting hurt, well, yeah, you probably didn't win, but you weren't going to win anyway. So have fun with it.
Good points. Bob, what you got? Do's or don'ts?
The do, I would say, is think of this draft like your home league. Do not think it's an expert draft, because an expert draft is structured, very normal scoring, very predictable. This is not. So if you're in round, let's say 5, you haven't got your second quarterback and you go, oh, well, all of those teams already have their 2 quarterbacks. I'll wait till it comes back. Damn sure somebody's going to pick their third quarterback.
Yep.
So don't overthink. Just if you think, hey, I really should be getting my second quarterback at this point, get your second quarterback. Because you get yourself in trouble, and then that quarterback you wanted gets taken, and now you're in a panic mode, and it just screws things up. So think of it as your home league where you just have no idea what these people are going to do next.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do, pick who you want to pick, that you want on your team that you think is going to be successful, and pick them maybe even around earlier than you think, especially if you're on those turns, because that's when it can get real ugly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my do's and don'ts. And obviously I think everybody knows, drink heavily. That's it. That's all.
Real quick, just kind of looking at the scoring. So if your quarterback gets 300 yards, which is a great game, that's 6 points in this now?
Yeah.
So 300 yards, 2 touchdowns is 18 points. That's not that much better than if that QB run happens, don't reach on a bad quarterback.
Yeah.
Don't reach on the bad quarterback, because the even scoring makes all position scoring kind of even.
Yep.
So if they're not, like you mentioned about running quarterbacks, it's such a huge advantage in this.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Stroud and Joe Burrow are awesome. They throw for a lot. They don't have touchdowns, but they're going to lack that rushing upside. That's a big disadvantage.
They need elite touchdowns.
Yep.
Yep.
You're looking at least 40. Yeah. And I would also say, even though we keep preaching 2 QBs, this might be the year in Superflex it doesn't really matter as much, because if you hit on that returner, that player might be a better Superflex person than you, just the way the scoring works out. So just something to think about. For me, it's running QB, or I might just wait because the scoring is just so different than what it's been.
Yeah, 100%.
75 return yards is 15 points. That's not much.
Yeah,
that's not much. That's more
points?
than.
Yeah, that's 3 kickoff returns of 25 yards each.
Yep. And with the new rules,
the new rules,
yep,
it could be one return.
Yep, 100%.
You're
So
almost the same as a 300-yard, 2-touchdown quarterback right there with 75 return yards.
Yeah.
Yep. So my biggest do, and I mentioned this on the show on the Discord thing too, is especially for the first timers, enjoy the whole process, right? Like, enjoy the draft. Don't be rushing the person to make their picks if they're a little bit long. Just think like, what else would you be doing in the middle of July if you didn't have Scott Fishbowl, right? You wouldn't be drafting. Join all the vision chats, to join the draft pick chats, be active. Because really, this is the funnest part to me. I don't know if it's the same for y'all, but I have more fun doing the drafts and all the community stuff that's at this time of year than the actual, when we're in season, setting rosters and all that kind of stuff. I enjoy this part of it the most.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think this is the best part. So obviously for the new people that are out there, if you're not already in your division chat, go get in it. If you're not in your draft pick chat, go get in it. If you're not in my Discord, shameless plug, go get in it. We're doing mock drafts, 10, sometimes 15 a day. I saw JJ Willie in the chat. He's one of the mock draft guys that posts a ton every day. So we're doing tons of mocks. So come join the Discord. It's in my Twitter bio. All right, let's get to some listener questions.
Go ahead. Ask me anything.
All right, so the first question on here, I'm just going to mention him because the question he asked, we just kind of talked about, but I did say I was going to mention him on the show. So John Joseph asked a question about how would you recommend a rookie being himself to prepare for his SFB draft and just for the overall season. I think we kind of did that with the do's and don'ts there, but I did say I would get him in the show, so I did. This next one is from Chuck Bass on the Discord as well. And Bob, I'm going to ask you this one because you mentioned it earlier. How many drinks is enough to start having a serious impact on your draft? What are your thoughts on
Serious
that?
impact, good or bad?
Yeah, it depends. I guess it depends on what you're doing, right?
Dealer's choice.
Yeah.
The limit does not exist.
I mean, obviously everybody knows what they can handle, what they can't. I as you can tell by my girlish figure, I can put away some. I usually definitely have a few just to take the edge off so that you kind of like don't have that anxiety and excitement and, how much, when's it enough? I mean, every person knows when they've had enough, but some are just don't always listen to themselves, tell them that they're drinking too much. But, obviously don't be obnoxious. Don't hold up the thing because you're puking in the bathroom, anything stupid like that. But, I would hope we wouldn't have to tell 40 and 60 to 60-year-olds that, but you never know. But definitely have a few, have fun, take the edge off. That's why we have these things at breweries, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. We're not holding it in a YMCA, so enjoy.
Yeah, Zach. Someone commented on this when he posted this question, and they said one fewer than everybody else, just so you can say just below them, so you can take advantage.
But now their threshold could be different than yours, so that's still dangerous. Like Bob said, you got to know your limits. But yeah, for my brand, drink responsibly. But
bring the book so that we all know what we want mixed.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring my book, so I just walk up to the bartender and go, make that one.
But have fun with it. If, like Bob said, if you need a little bit for a little more courage, go for it.
Yeah.
If you know that you don't know when to stop, don't start. Don't be.
Jamie, I'm not an alcoholic. That would means I'm a quitter, and I'm not a quitter.
Yeah. So yeah, just have fun with it. Don't go crazy. This is supposed to be a fun experience, so keep it fun.
Absolutely.
And I did want to mention. Sorry, was it? Who was it? Sorry. Vincent had mentioned he's a rookie. He didn't want to worry about the slate advantage for MFL. Talking about kickers, there actually hasn't been an advantage. Scott's run the numbers the last 2 years since we've changed the kicker scoring, and it's actually been more favorable to sleeper of having to start one. Kind of like how Bob said he took a bunch thinking it would be an advantage. It didn't actually work out. So there is really no actual kicker advantage, which is why Scott continues to do it because it's very even. I wouldn't even say it's a sleeper advantage. It's basically no advantage either way.
I think where that came from is someone did some kind of some analysis where they essentially picked perfect rosters from both sites, and MFL had the better perfect roster. But the chance that you draft a perfect roster is literally impossible. So yeah, there's not really, just through regular drafting, there's no real advantage to it at all. I was going to ask you, Zach, real quick. You know, we're talking about alcoholic drinks, and you mentioned your book. Did you want to plug that real quick, where they can find that at?
Sure, I appreciate it. So it's on Amazon, soon to be Barnes & Noble, but Amazon right now is the easiest one. It's the Cocktail Playbook. Just type that in, it'll pop right up. There is a hardcover, which I recommend if you're going to display it. Paperback, save the $5. If it's just going to be like, if you're just going to store it somewhere, I take no offense to that at all. Save the $5, get the paperback. And then there's also an ebook version. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. Otherwise it's $10 for ebook. I don't recommend the ebook unless you get it for free, because that's not as fun as having the actual book, but however you want to spend your money is your choice. And I appreciate it either way. So I appreciate you giving me the time to put a quick plug in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I'm going to go to you on this one, Ryan. And it's from Fred Meyer Football on the Discord. He says, anyone have any plans or ideas for the 5 that are they focusing on? I know you're the 12, but I know you've done some of these mocks here. Where are you looking at the 5 spot, which is kind of after the quarterback run a little bit?
5's super easy. I love it. You get one of the top 4 quarterbacks with Allen Hurts, Jackson, or Mahomes or McCaffrey. Like, that's it. There's no question. It's the best of those 5 available. And if multiple are available, I'm taking my favorite of them.
Now, he was saying he's been going CD at the 5, and then he's been able to get Dak in that second round. What do you think of that stack there?
That's fine, but it's the question with that is, will Dak actually be there if a QB run happens? And with it being super flex, and I know we talked about how QB might not be as important, having that running quarterback is such an advantage. Like, I'm taking one of those guys. They're getting me guaranteed points every week. Those 4 quarterbacks, McCaffrey, are guaranteed points. As great as Lamb was last year, wide receivers is always just a little question, and consistency is always just a little bit off. These guys, I know what I'm getting.
Yep, that's a good call.
If I can chime in, like you said, I was the 5th pick on the mock draft the other night, and I went Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott. CD Lamb didn't go until 12.
Wow. That's good. Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, like you said, everything's different. But I think if you have, Allen, Hurts, Mahomes, or Jackson, I think you got to take one of those 4. Somebody took Laporte a 2nd overall. That's why even Jackson was available. I didn't even know he'd fall to me. So
good stuff. All right, let's go to you on this one, Zach. He wrote a really long paragraph, but then he kind of summed it up at the end there. How many rookies year over year outperform their ADP for redraft purposes in a league like this? So in other words, how much value are you putting on some of the rookies in a redraft format here?
In general, not even in this format, rookies typically outperform their ADP just because their ADP is usually depressed since they are rookie, except for Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors this year are the 2 highest ADPs ever, beating out Amari Cooper from several years ago. So they probably won't outperform their ADP just because it's at the very ceiling right now. You just have to remember when you're drafting rookies, they might not really help you till the back half of the season, which is important because that's when you really need to make that push to get in the playoffs and hopefully do well in the playoffs. But you have to be prepared to let them sit on your bench. This is a deeper bench. We have 11 bench spots, so there's nothing wrong with that. So you just have to remember to be patient with your rookies. And they typically, not all of them, some of them are just flat out busts. Some of them come out of the gates hot, but most rookies in general have a much better second half than first half.
Good stuff. Bob, I want to pass that question to you as well, because the consistency guide that you do, obviously rookies are part of that, but you can't really get consistency until they have a year under their belt. So how do you value rookies in a redraft format like this?
I mean, so you're talking just straight redraft, not Scott Fishbowl?
That's just in general, yep.
Just in general. So, yeah, I usually pass on them. However, I will say that last year, and I've been tracking the consistency of rookies now for 12 years. And basically, the concept is if they could get over 60% consistency in their rookie season, they are in an elite group. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is. So last year, though, we had the most wide receivers, or actually any position, actually make that threshold in the history. I've been tracking it since 2010. So from that standpoint, you can say, well, okay, maybe I should draft a rookie early. And I'm not, and again, if you're going to draft one, obviously Marcus Anderson Jr. is that choice. Is Malik Neighbors with Daniel Jones a quarterback? I don't know. But he's also the only guy they got. So he certainly has a good value. It's just a question of when you want to pay for him. In the mock draft we did, he went middle round 7, in between Devontae Smith and Christian Kirk and Rashid Shaheed, who I took. So, I mean, I think that's a fair value based on where he's at, what his capabilities are. But other than those two, like I don't have a lot of love for Rome Odunze and those kind of guys, because there's so many other choices there. That they're fighting for targets. So I probably stay away from most. The running backs aren't that strong. There's no real stud tight end. So basically, you're looking at 2 rookies that might go in the top 10 rounds, and that's about it. I mean, rookie, not quarterbacks.
Non-quarterbacks. Right.
But in a traditional 1 quarterback league, there isn't going to be too many players going that early. But as Jamie said, Neighbors is going in the mid-3rd round, an underdog. Well, good for him. Yeah. He won't be on my team.
Yeah, they're betting on that late season surge for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more question here. I want to ask. Go ahead, Ryan.
I want to say Lad McConkey and Keon Coleman at 104, 114 are ones I'm probably going to target, because they have that, because their opportunity role and that draft position. We're talking 9th, 10th round. I'll snag them probably every time, because there's a chance Lad McConkey can get 100 targets in that offense, because there's no real receivers there.
Right.
Good point. And that question was from that kid Fett. I want to make sure to give him a shout out too, because he's very active in our Discord too. So appreciate the question. Last question we have here is actually from our guest from last week, Matt Price from DLF. And I'm open up to all 3 of you, because it's kind of a debate. Who is the 101? I've seen Josh Allen. I've seen Christian McCaffrey. I've seen the Lamar Jackson has even snuck into that 101 spot a couple times. So, Zach, we'll go to you first here. Who is your 101 if you had the 101 spot?
Sure. Before I see some stuff in the chat. So I was talking about rookie wide receivers. So Barkley and Bijan don't count. And yeah, Chase was early first. Cooper was like 3rd round ADP his rookie year. And like you said, Neighbors is mid-third. I think he was 2nd before. And Marvin Harrison's like end of the 1st round right now. It's crazy. So that's where that comes from. But for 101, to me, it is whoever your favorite running QB is, whoever that is for you, because everyone has a different opinion. That's you should take at 101 or CMC. And that depends on how do you want to build the rest of your roster, because some people feel pressured to take QBs early in a super flex league, and I get it. And some are very comfortable not doing that. So if you're the 101, it's really how comfortable are you going to be having the 101, the 212, the 312, those first 3 picks, understanding that those are your picks. You got it. To me, it's your favorite running QB or CMC.
Fair enough. What about you, Bob? Who is your 101?
Honestly, as much as I don't like Lamar Jackson, because his consistency last year was very poor in a regular league, I don't have the capabilities of putting all these wild scoring into my system. But you have to love Lamar Jackson with, Derrick Henry there. So now they can't focus on him in the backfield when he does RPOs. Got a good team around him. They're going to be effective. They're going to run the ball a ton, obviously, as they always do. So, with that, if he runs, with the scoring, if he runs 10 yards for a first down, what's that automatic, 4 points or 3 points or something?
Yeah. Did you get the rushing 0.25 or whatever it is?
Yeah. You get the attempt, you get, the first down, and you get 1 point rushing yards. Yeah. So, yeah, I think, Hurts, I don't think he scores 15, 16 touchdowns this year with the tush push and with Barkley in the backfield, Allen has very limited weapons in the passing game. Mahomes doesn't run as much, and I think they want to continue to keep him not running as much. So yeah, I think at this point, if I had the 101, I probably would take Lamar Jackson. And I'm never usually a fan of him, but in this scoring method, man, if he has a year from a couple of years ago, where he could really score a lot of points in the system.
Absolutely. So Ryan, the Ravens fan, Ryan, are you taking Lamar Jackson 101?
I mean, I agree with both of them. I'm going to take my favorite running quarterback and Lamar Jackson, who is Lamar Jackson. So yeah, I mean, I think Derrick Henry makes a big difference there. Like trying to figure like that out, and I think second year with Todd Monken makes a big difference still. And I had to pick someone outside of him, it'd probably be Mahomes because of just consistency I know I'm going to get, and I think his weapons are absurd this year. So it'd be between those two, but I'd probably lean Lamar just because I want to have more fun with the league and take somebody I like.
And JJ says, great. No chance of Lamar falling to me now. Thanks, Bob.
Nobody will listen to me anyway.
I love it. Just looking at the ADP, so I do a minimum and a maximum of where they were drafted. There were 5 guys that have a minimum, a first round pick. Josh Allen, we talked about, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and the one running back is Christian McCaffrey. So I think if I have the 101, I am taking Christian McCaffrey because I think I am comfortable taking with the nerfed sort of scoring for quarterbacks. Obviously the running quarterbacks have a huge advantage, but to get what was that?
Homer pick.
It's a little bit of hey, if you can take Lamar Jackson, I can take Christian McCaffrey. That's my homer pick. But I do think he has a huge advantage over the next guy that you would get at running back because of his receiving ability, because of his rushing ability, because of the offense he plays in, because of how they use him in the red zone. He's going to rack up a ton of touchdowns. So if I had the 101, it would be Christian McCaffrey, just to give some different opinions here on the panel.
Can't argue with that.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps the show up tonight. I want to thank both of you for coming on tonight, and Zach, you especially, because we had to reschedule you to tonight because we couldn't get you on the first time we had you. So thank you for opening up 2 nights for us and being able to make it tonight. We'll go around the room, guys. Give us your Twitter handle if you want to plug anything that you're selling or you're pushing or whatever. Go ahead and do that as well. So Zach, we'll go to you first.
Sure, appreciate it. Didn't mind coming on a second time. I love talking Scott Fishbowl, so anytime. But yeah, at FF2 Batman, try to keep it really simple. If you don't get the reference, that's okay. You'll figure it out. And if you do, then you're the right person to be following me, and I appreciate it. Go ahead, support Fantasy and Frames. They're a great team over there. They're a lot of fun. I think you guys work with them quite a bit too. So good times over there. And yeah, I talked about the cocktail playbook. I didn't really say what it was. Basically, it's 32 drinks, 1 for each NFL team. They are themed to each team. It is not a gimmicky thing. It's not just, this is the same color. Let's just throw that on there. No, I did some research. I tried to find things that went with that city, made sense with that team, had fun with it. It's quality drinks. It's not the nasty, sugary stuff that you'll get at a lot of your cheap bars. So like I said, I want to make drinks that I want to enjoy as well. So all quality there. So I appreciate that. I know Jamie said he purchased one. Thank you. I cannot personalize it. I don't actually have any of the inventory. Amazon does everything for me. They print it, they ship it out. It's very, very easy on my end. So I do not have the ability to do anything like that. I'm sorry about that. But
tell them to bring it. No, you autograph them at the expo.
No, I will not be at the expo. I'm so sorry. But I will be at Cincy Live. I get to see you, Bob.
There you go. So I'll bring mine. And you can autograph mine. And
absolutely, I appreciate that.
We'll share.
But you got to make a trip down to Cincy. I don't know how
there you go. Yeah, we'll both be there.
Right? You can see it there. I just ordered it right now.
Sweet.
I appreciate it, Ryan. But yeah, so thank you guys. I had a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm excited to see Bob in person for the first time next weekend.
Good stuff. All right, Bob, what you got?
So let's talk about the consistency guide. As we mentioned, get that on Amazon. Same thing, just type in fantasy football consistency. I guarantee you it'll be the first thing to pop up. And definitely while you're doing that, get our good friend here, Zach's book, because I bought it. It's great. I just have to find all the ingredients, but But yeah, it's just so much great stuff. I can't wait to keep trying one after another. I've done a few already, so definitely get that book. So just go to Amazon, get the consistency guide, get the cocktail playbook, and it'll be perfect. You'll get them both in 2 days. So yeah, Fantasy Football Expo, thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Get your tickets. Everybody except of course poor Zach is going to be there, and Geoff. So everybody else is going to be there. Just those.
We wish we could be there.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. But August 9th through the 11th, Canton, Ohio, 3-day weekend, parties, drafts, flag football, cornhole, 2 days now of expo events. So sports betting Saturday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., all focused on sports betting, 2 different stages, all the trade show booths, of course, and then fantasy football Sunday for 6 hours, all talking fantasy football. It's a great time. You'll really enjoy it. So make sure you get to that. Bring friends. If you got a bunch of buddies or females, ladies, you're certainly more than welcome to come and just hang out with us. Meet all of your favorite experts, except Geoff and Zach. But no, definitely come to that. And I'm on Twitter at Bob_Lung. And the expo is at the FF Expo. So thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. Always appreciate it. Hopefully, by the next time you either cut your hair or
I'll have dreads next time.
Okay, or you have being dreads, one of the two.
If you have dreads, I quit.
You quit. Ryan, what you got going on, man?
Nothing exciting. Find me on Twitter, Foss534. Find me here Wednesday nights. Find me over at the Rookie Big Board Dynasty Big Board podcast on Wednesday mornings.
Good stuff. As always, guys, follow me on Twitter at GeoffLambert77. If you missed it earlier, I'm raffling off my round pick in the Sky Fishbowl for every $5 donated to our charity, which you can find on my Discord. You can find it on my Twitter, anywhere that you follow me. I'm sure I'm donating it crazy. And we also have currently a donation match. We have an anonymous donor that is donating our up to $300. Once we hit that $300 threshold, he will donate $300 in addition to that, so we can get to that. And then me and Ryan are making an appearance in the Podathon this Saturday at 9:00, and they were kind enough to give us a pretty sweet spot down right in between Ryan McDowell and Scott Fish and Matthew Berry. We're like right in the middle, so when you tune in for that and just out for me and Ryan a little bit, we'll be the filler to get you to Matthew Berry. So
I'll say, prepare to be disappointed.
I'll be on Sunday night at 7.
Sunday at 7. All right,
I'll be on Sunday morning at 4:30 in the morning.
4:30. Okay, so you'll be setting us up. Yeah.
Yes, I got West Coast International. Yeah.
All right, good stuff. All right, fellas, again, appreciate you coming on. Great show tonight, and good luck in the Scott Fishbowl. And we'll see y'all at all the live drafts. Have a good night.
See you guys.